Wife said, my body, my rules, don't touch me. So I said, my money, my rules, don't ask me. She wanted boundaries. I gave her boundaries. She wanted space. I gave her space. She wanted independence. I gave her independence. But when the bills started piling up and reality hit hard, suddenly those same boundaries didn't feel so empowering anymore. This is the raw, unfiltered story of what happens when my body, my rules, meets my wallet, my rules. And why sometimes the most painful lessons teach us the most about love, respect, and what marriage really means.
Hey, story lover. Welcome to the Narrative Hub, Reddit Stories. Believe me, this adventure gets wild, but it's only epic with you. Seriously, you make this possible. Want more stories? Greater adventure? Smash subscribe right now. Smash like. Comment below. Let's go.
Started on a Tuesday night. Denise came home from her book club, shoulders squared like she was walking into battle. I was on the couch, scrolling through Netflix, trying to find something we could watch together. Something normal. Something that might bridge the growing distance between us. We need to talk, she said, not even taking off her coat. Those 4 words. Every married man knows them. They're never followed by good news. She stood there in our living room like she was giving a corporate presentation. I've been thinking about boundaries, she began, and I knew this wasn't going to be about the fence we'd been discussing with the neighbors. I don't feel comfortable with physical expectations anymore. My body, my rules. Don't touch me. The words hit like ice water. Not because of what she said, everyone has the right to their own body, but because of how she said it. Cold, final, like she was reading from a script she'd rehearsed with her book club friends. Okay, I said, because what else do you say? Is there something wrong? Can we talk about? There's nothing to talk about. This is just how it is now. That night I moved to the guest room. Not because she asked me to, but because the space between us in our king-size bed felt like an ocean anyway. By Thursday, something was eating at me. It wasn't just the rejection. It was the one-sidedness of it all. She wanted boundaries, but only for herself. She wanted independence, but still expected me to handle the mortgage, her car payment, her credit cards. I started thinking about our marriage like a business partnership. What was each party contributing? What were we each getting in return? Me, working 60 hours a week at a job I tolerated to pay for a lifestyle she loved. Her, part-time work at a nonprofit that barely covered her coffee budget. The math was brutal when you stripped away the romance. Friday night, she announced she was going shopping with her sister. I saw these boots online. They're perfect for the fall weather. For $100 boots. For someone who made $18,000 a year. Sounds expensive, I said. It's fine. I'll use the card. The card. My credit card. Funded by my overtime. Used by someone who wouldn't even let me hold her hand anymore. That's when it clicked. She'd set her boundary. Time for me to set mine. Saturday morning, while she was at yoga, I made some calls. Canceled her access to the joint credit cards. Changed the Netflix password. Removed her from my Amazon Prime. Small moves, but they sent a clear message. When she came home and tried to order her usual overpriced smoothie delivery, her card declined. There's something wrong with the app, she called from the kitchen. No, I said, walking in with my phone still warm from making the changes. There's something right with it. My money, my rules. Don't ask me. The silence that followed could have powered a small city. She tried to play it cool for 3 days. Made her own coffee. Packed lunches. I almost admired the effort. But by Tuesday, the facade cracked. This is ridiculous, she said. standing in the doorway while I paid bills at the kitchen table. You can't just cut me off. I didn't cut you off. I set a boundary. I thought you'd understand. Her face went 3 shades of red. That's completely different. Is it? You control access to your body. I control access to my wallet. Both are boundaries. That's manipulative. So was giving me an ultimatum about physical affection and expecting nothing else to change. She stormed out, slammed the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. 2 weeks in, the house felt like a war zone. We moved around each other like enemy spies, communicating only when absolutely necessary. She'd been staying at her sister's place more often, coming home just to shower and grab clothes. But Tuesday night, she came home with puffy eyes and sat down across from me at the dinner table. Lisa thinks I should leave you, she said quietly. Lisa. Her sister, who'd been divorced twice and thought marriage was a patriarchal conspiracy. What do you think? I asked. She stared at her hands. I think we're both being stubborn. Maybe, but one of us started this war. I wasn't trying to start a war. I was trying to set a boundary. And I respected that boundary. But you can't set boundaries for me and expect me not to set any for myself. She was quiet for a long time. When she finally looked up, there were tears in her eyes. I miss us, she whispered. For the first time in 2 weeks, my anger cracked. So do I. Something shifted after that conversation. She started coming home for dinner again. We'd sit at the table, eating in careful silence. But it wasn't the hostile silence anymore. It was the silence of 2 people trying to figure out how to rebuild something they'd both helped destroy. Thursday night, she surprised me. I've been thinking about what you said, she began, picking at her pasta, about boundaries working both ways. I waited. I realized I was being hypocritical. I was demanding respect for my boundaries while completely ignoring yours. What boundaries did I have? I asked, genuinely curious. Financial, emotional, the boundary of not wanting to be taken for granted. She got it. Finally, she got it. But, she continued, I need you to understand why I said what I said. So she told me about feeling like our marriage had become mechanical, about feeling like affection was just another item on my to-do list, about her friends filling her head with ideas about reclaiming her power. I listened, really listened. And then I told her my side, about feeling like a paycheck with legs, about working myself into the ground to fund a lifestyle she seemed to think she was entitled to, about feeling like I was expected to give everything while getting the bare minimum in return. We talked until 2 a.m., the first real conversation we'd had in months. The weekend brought our first real breakthrough. She came to me Saturday morning with a proposal. What if we both drop our walls at the same time? She suggested. What does that look like? I stop treating you like you're just here to fund my life. You stop treating me like I'm just here to meet your needs. It sounded simple. It wasn't. We spent the day negotiating, like diplomats ending a Cold War. Her commitments: get a full-time job, take responsibility for her own expenses, stop treating physical intimacy like a weapon. My commitments: stop using money as leverage, communicate my needs instead of keeping score, work on rebuilding emotional intimacy before expecting physical intimacy. By Sunday night, we had a rough framework for a new marriage, version 2.0. A month after this all started, we were sitting on our couch together. Not touching, but together, watching a movie we'd both agreed on. You know, she said during a commercial, I hated you for those first 2 weeks. I know, I could feel it. But I hated myself more. I looked at her. Because deep down I knew you were right. I was being selfish and hypocritical. I just didn't want to admit it. And I was being petty and controlling, I admitted, even if I had a point. She leaned against my shoulder, the first physical contact we'd had in a month. So where do we go from here? She asked. Forward, I guess, but differently. 6 months later, the new normal. Denise got a job at a marketing firm. Not her dream job, but a real job with real money. She took over her own car payment and started contributing to groceries. I started working fewer hours. Turns out, when you're not funding two people's lifestyle on one income, you don't need as much overtime. We started going to counseling. Not because we were falling apart, but because we wanted to make sure we never ended up in that dark place again. The physical intimacy came back gradually, but it was different now, better, because it wasn't an obligation or a weapon. It was a choice we both made. People ask me if I regret how I handled things, if I think I was too harsh. The truth is, I don't know. Maybe there was a gentler way to make my point. Maybe we could have had those important conversations without the nuclear option. But I also know this. Sometimes you have to break something completely before you can rebuild it stronger. Our marriage now isn't the one we had before. It's better. It's more honest. It's based on mutual respect instead of unspoken expectations. She learned that boundaries work both ways, that you can't demand independence while expecting dependence. I learned that keeping score is poison, that communication beats manipulation every time. And we both learned that love isn't enough. You need respect, partnership, and a willingness to fight for each other instead of against each other. Was I wrong to respond the way I did? Maybe. But was she wrong to start it? Definitely. The real lesson isn't about who was right or wrong. It's about what happens when two people stop being partners and start being adversaries. Our month-long Cold War nearly ended our marriage, but it also saved it. Sometimes the most painful lessons are the ones that teach us the most about love, respect, and what marriage really means. In the end, she got her boundaries. I got mine. And we both got something better than what we started with. A marriage built on mutual respect instead of mutual resentment. The nuclear option almost destroyed us. But sometimes you have to tear down the old foundation to build something stronger. Would I do it again? I hope I never have to find out.